The cold black of space stretched endlessly, filled with twinkling stars and distant planets. At the center of this darkness floated a massive fortress, unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Its walls were layered with alien metal that shimmered under the distant starlight. Laser turrets rotated slowly on its surface, scanning for any intruder. The fortress seemed alive, as if it could sense threats even before they arrived. Inside, every hall hummed with energy, and every corridor was guarded by the most advanced security systems imaginable. Far away, on a barren moon not far from the fortress, the elite alien strike team prepared for their mission. They were the finest soldiers their species had ever produced, fast, strong, and trained to perfection. Each member wore sleek armor that could resist energy blasts, and their eyes glowed faintly under their helmets as they reviewed holographic maps of the fortress. "This is it," said the team leader, his voice calm but tense. "The fortress has never been breached. Any mistake, and it will be our last." The rest of the team nodded silently. They had heard the stories. Every strike team sent here before had failed. Some had been vaporized instantly. Others had vanished without a trace. No alien had ever returned alive. But their confidence remained. They were trained for this, prepared for the impossible. Meanwhile, on the other side of the moon, a human walked casually across the gray, rocky surface. His boots kicked up tiny clouds of dust, but his movements were slow and relaxed. He carried no weapons. His uniform was simple, more like a traveler than a soldier. He paused for a moment to look at the fortress, tilting his head curiously. His eyes, sharp and observant, scanned the immense structure as if he were studying an old building in his hometown. From the alien perspective, this human was unusual. The sensors had detected him early, and yet he moved with no fear, no sense of urgency, no tactical strategy. He simply walked. Back on the moon, the strike team made their move. Their ships glided silently toward the fortress, cloaked in invisibility shields. Inside the command center of the fortress, sensors began to flare, red lights blinking urgently. "They're here," one of the fortress's AI control guardians said in a metallic voice. Intruders detected. The strike team began their infiltration. They jumped down from their ships, landing silently on the fortress's outer walls. They used energy blades and grappling hooks to climb, their movements precise and rehearsed. Every step had been calculated. Every door had a plan. They were perfection in motion, but perfection failed. As they reached the first energy barrier, it triggered an unexpected defensive system. Pulses of light and force knocked them back, scrambling their sensors. Alarms blared throughout the fortress, red and blue lights flickering violently. The strike team struggled to regain control. "This isn't possible," shouted one soldier. "Our maps were perfect." Meanwhile, the human was still walking. He had paused to examine a strange formation on the moon's surface, a natural ridge that, by chance, led directly to a small hidden entrance. He pushed aside the dust and debris and slipped inside without a second thought. Inside the fortress, the alarms roared louder. The elite strike team scrambled, trying to disable the defenses. They had come prepared for everything, but not for a human who seemed immune to fear, immune to technology, immune to their strategies. The human wandered deeper, casually stepping over laser grids and evading automated patrol drones. Each step was deliberate but calm. He noticed the details, the way the fortress was built, the patterns in the defenses, the gaps the aliens had left. Where the strike team had failed, he succeeded effortlessly, as if he could see the invisible paths through the chaos. One drone hovered close, its sensors flashing red. The human glanced at it, tilted his head, and the drone suddenly short-circuited. A small spark, and it fell silent. He didn't even flinch. Outside, the alien strike team realized something terrifying. The alarms were triggered, but not by them. Someone else, someone they had underestimated, was already inside. "What? Who is inside?" one of the soldiers asked, voice trembling. The team leader's eyes widened under his helmet. "Impossible it can't be. That human, he's in the fortress." Panic began to spread among the team. They had trained for decades, studied the fortress for centuries, and yet a single human had found a way in. Inside, the human reached a corridor filled with holographic panels and strange alien symbols. He paused, squinting at the lights, then pressed his hand against a small console. The door ahead slid open silently. The strike team had never seen this entrance before. They had planned for the main gates, the turrets, the laser traps. This door had been forgotten, hidden by layers of alien arrogance. The human stepped through casually, his pace unchanging, as if walking through a park. The strike team watched from outside the walls, their jaws tight behind their helmets. He's walking through it like it's nothing, one soldier whispered. The team leader clenched his fists. No, we are trained. We are perfect. How can a single human do what we cannot? Back inside, the human reached a massive hall filled with alien statues and mysterious devices. Energy hummed in the air, casting strange shadows across the walls. He stopped in the center and looked around, curious but calm. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small, worn tool. It was simple, ancient by alien standards, but effective. He pressed it against the console, and lights flickered as if waking from a long sleep. The fortress shuddered. The strike team outside could feel it through the ground beneath them. The alarms changed pitch, flickering red-orange to green. Systems that had been impenetrable for centuries were now responding to a human's touch. What is he doing? One soldier gasped. The human didn't speak. He didn't hurry. He simply observed, pressing a few more buttons, moving with an easy confidence that no alien could match. Each action seemed minor, but the effects were enormous. Doors unlocked. Barriers fell. Energy fields dissipated. Suddenly, one of the strike team members tried to enter through another entrance. He found it locked, impenetrable. Every trick, every piece of technology they had brought, failed against a fortress. But the human, without armor, without weapons, without strategy, was moving through freely. The human paused and looked back, almost sensing the aliens outside. He smiled faintly, not in arrogance, but in curiosity. He didn't know why he had been underestimated. He didn't know why the fortress allowed him in. But he understood one thing clearly. The aliens had relied on rules, perfection, and fear, and he had none of these. Outside, the strike team struggled. Their leader's voice was tight with tension. We cannot fail. We cannot let him reach the core. But the human didn't rush. Each step was careful, deliberate, and calm. The fortress itself seemed to recognize this. Perhaps it had never seen such unpredictability before. Perhaps it had never expected a human to approach without fear. In the halls, drones tried to intercept him. Turrets aimed at his head. But he simply sidestepped, ducked, or used the environment to his advantage. It was as if the fortress had become part of him, responding to his movements instead of opposing them. He reached a chamber that no alien had ever entered, a place filled with ancient relics, lights pulsing like the heartbeat of the fortress itself. He examined a console, pressed a sequence of buttons, and a hidden door slid open. A low hum echoed through the walls. The strike team outside froze. They had predicted every move, every possibility, every outcome. But not this. A single human, casual and fearless, had penetrated deeper than any of them ever could. The human stepped through the door, disappearing into the unknown depths of the fortress. Outside, the aliens were silent, stunned. The mission they had trained for their entire lives was slipping away from them, not because of failure, but because of the unpredictable power of one human. And so, the first part of the story ends, not with a battle, not with a victory, but with the shock and awe of what one human could accomplish when others expected weakness, and he brought none. The stage was set for the impossible, the unexpected, and the unfolding of events that would challenge the galaxy itself. The fortress trembled faintly, as if it had sensed something impossible, a human moving freely where elite alien soldiers could not. Outside, the alien strike team regrouped on the moon's surface, their ships hovering silently above the gray rocks. The team leader's eyes glowed under his helmet as he studied the fortress, anger and disbelief mixing with fear. Impossible, he muttered, almost to himself. He's inside, one human, inside our strongest fortress. Alone. The rest of the team remained silent, their breathing heavy inside the armored suits. Each had trained for decades. Each had memorized every layout, every defense, every hidden trap. And yet, None of their knowledge had mattered. A single human had walked past them with ease. Inside the fortress, the human moved carefully but calmly. His boots made no sound on the metallic floor. He glanced at the walls, the strange symbols etched into alien steel, and even smiled faintly. So much care, he thought, for something that could be so simple. A drone hovered close, its sensors scanning rapidly. Its lights glowed red. The human tilted his head and gently pressed it with the side of his hand. Sparks erupted. The drone collapsed to the ground, dead. He didn't even step aside. He just kept moving. Elsewhere, the strike team attempted another approach. They had learned nothing from their earlier failure. Yet they tried again. This time, they coordinated their movements with precision. Laser cutters, cloaking devices, energy disruptors, all deployed in perfect synchrony. Every team member knew his role. Every step had been calculated. But the fortress reacted unpredictably. Systems shifted. Defense grids reconfigured themselves faster than the aliens could adapt. Their precision, once flawless, became a trap. Doors slammed shut unexpectedly, forcing them to retreat. Turrets recalibrated to track them. Automated guardians blocked their paths. It was as if the fortress itself were aware. One human inside, and the rules had changed. The human continued down a narrow corridor. It was barely wide enough for one being, yet he walked as if it were a familiar street. Every obstacle, patrolling robots, laser barriers, security cameras, he bypassed with ease. He ducked under beams, sidestepped moving platforms, and even used reflective panels to confuse sensors. Where the aliens relied on technology and strategy, he relied on observation and instinct. Back outside, the team leader clenched his fists. We must stop him before he reaches the central chamber. If he gets there, everything we've worked for, it will be gone. One soldier, younger than the rest, shook his head. Sir, I've never seen anything like this. He doesn't fight like we do. He doesn't even fear us. Exactly, the leader said, and that makes him dangerous. Inside the fortress, the human paused briefly. He studied a console covered with alien writing, trying to understand it. He didn't panic. He didn't rush. He simply observed patterns, noticed repeated sequences, and adjusted. In minutes, he had unlocked what had taken aliens hours, perhaps centuries, to understand. A sudden alarm echoed. Red lights bathed the corridor. The strike team had activated another security measure, sending a pulse through the fortress designed to immobilize intruders. Energy barriers shot up from the floor and walls, enclosing the human in a cage of light. For a moment, it seemed the human might be trapped. The lasers hummed and crackled, moving like deadly threads of light. The fortress seemed to prepare for his failure. But the human smiled. He observed the patterns of the barriers. They moved in a rhythm, repeating like a loop. Timing his steps, he jumped, rolled, and slid to the moving barriers as if dancing. Sparks flew where he touched a panel accidentally, but he continued forward, unharmed. The strike team outside watched in horror. Every tool, every weapon, every carefully rehearsed move they had trained for could not predict this. A single human, calm and casual, had outmaneuvered their best technology. He's adapting, one soldier whispered, faster than our systems can respond. Yes, said the leader, voice tight. He doesn't follow rules. And that's why he's winning. As the human moved deeper, he entered a vast chamber filled with alien machinery. The walls were alive with pulsing energy, and strange symbols floated in midair. This room had been untouched by any intruder for centuries. Only the most advanced aliens had been allowed inside, and none had survived long enough to report back. He looked around, noting the pattern of energy flows. It was like reading a map written in light and shadow. With careful hands, he adjusted a few panels, rotated some levers, and touched a few glowing symbols. The energy of the fortress shifted subtly. A door slid open silently, revealing a hidden stairwell leading downward. The strike team outside realized what was happening. He's opening paths inside the fortress. Paths we didn't even know existed. The human descended the stairwell. His steps echoed faintly, but there was no fear in his movements. In a way, he felt the fortress responding to him. Every obstacle it threw at him was minor compared to the unpredictability of his mind. Where the aliens relied on rules, He relied on intuition. Where they depended on precision, he depended on observation. And where they expected fear, he showed none. The alien leader clenched his teeth. We must intercept him. We cannot let him reach the control core. He ordered a coordinated strike. Drones, energy blasts, and teleporting soldiers would converge on the humans simultaneously. Outside, the soldiers moved with flawless execution, expecting to crush the intruder with overwhelming force. Inside, the human noticed the incoming threat almost instantly. He didn't panic. He didn't run. He simply used the fortress itself. Sliding panels blocked drones. Energy conduits redirected blasts harmlessly. The floor shifted to guide him past the soldiers. Every move they made was predictable, and he used it against them. A drone flew straight at him, firing a continuous laser beam. The human leaned slightly to the left, and the beam struck a reflective panel. The light bounced back, disabling. Disabling the drone instantly. Another soldier teleported into the corridor. The human barely moved, just a step to the side, and the soldier collided with a low-hanging panel, knocking him unconscious. The fortress echoed with alarms and energy pulses. Outside, the strike team was panicked. Their leader shouted orders, but the human was already deep inside, moving faster than they could follow. Their perfect plan had been rendered useless. The human reached a junction in the fortress. Two paths lay ahead, one glowing faintly, one dark and silent. He paused, thinking. The glowing path was too obvious. The dark path, perhaps it led to something even more critical. He chose the dark path. It was a narrow corridor, walls lined with strange alien devices. Every device pulsed with energy, and each step forward triggered subtle reactions. But the human moved with care, reading the signals, avoiding danger without ever seeming to try. In the distance, the strike team tried to regroup. We cannot predict him, the leader growled. Every move he makes is impossible. He realized that no amount of alien precision could stop a human who refused to follow rules. The fortress itself, their fortress, seemed confused by this anomaly. It had been designed to challenge perfection, but the human brought something entirely different. Creativity, intuition, and calmness under pressure. At the end of the corridor, the human reached another chamber. It was smaller, but it contained a series of controls that seemed to govern part of the fortress. He studied them carefully. Each lever, each symbol, each panel responded to touch in ways the aliens had never documented. And then he smiled, not because he was victorious, yet, but because he realized how simple it all was. While the aliens relied on rules, precision, and fear, he relied on observation and casual courage. One step at a time, he could achieve what entire teams of elite soldiers could not. The chamber's doors began to close automatically. He stepped inside just in time, sealing the human off from any immediate threat. The fortress's lights pulsed around him, almost as if acknowledging his presence. Outside, the alien strike team had no choice but to retreat temporarily. Their precision had failed. Their strategies had failed. And the human, calm, casual, unstoppable, continued his journey deeper into the heart of the fortress. It was a turning point, unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. One human, moving with simplicity and courage, had shown that precision and technology were not always enough. Unpredictability could be a weapon, and fearlessness could be stronger than any armor. The stage was set for what would come next. The fortress had been breached, not by armies, not by elite soldiers, but by a single human who walked casually into the heart of the impossible. And the galaxy would never forget this day. The human stepped through the hidden door, leaving behind the chaos of alarms and frustrated alien soldiers. Inside, the fortress was unlike anything he had imagined. The walls seemed to breathe with energy, pulsing softly with light. Strange symbols floated in the air, casting long shadows across the floor. The corridors twisted and shifted as if the structure itself was alive, responding to every movement. For centuries, this fortress had been untouched by intruders. Its defenses were legendary, designed to repel the best alien strike teams in the galaxy. Every room was a trap, every hallway a puzzle, every doorway a challenge. Yet the human moved with casual confidence, stepping over pressure-sensitive tiles and ducking under beams of red light. The first obstacle came in the form of a hovering sentinel. Its body was sleek and metallic, with spinning energy blades extending from its sides. Its sensors glowed red as it detected motion. The human didn't panic. He noticed a faint reflection in the metallic walls and used it to time his movements perfectly. He rolled forward, narrowly avoiding the swinging blades. The sentinel whirred and changed direction, trying to follow him, but he ducked behind a console and slipped away, leaving the machine confused. Meanwhile, the alien strike team monitored from Moon. Their leader's eyes flared with anger and disbelief. He's inside again. How is this possible? Every system should stop him. One younger soldier spoke hesitantly. Sir, maybe he's thinking differently. Not like us. He doesn't follow patterns. He adapts. The leader growled. Adaptation alone cannot defeat precision. And yet it is working. The human entered a chamber unlike any he had seen. It was enormous, filled with enormous crystalline structures that hummed with energy. Each crystal seemed to store power, pulsing in rhythm with the fortress itself. Floating platforms hovered above the floor, moving slowly back and forth. Sensors in the room created invisible barriers that could trap intruders instantly. He paused, studying the room. The crystal's energy was strange, but he noticed patterns in their glow. Timing his movements, he jumped onto a platform. It shifted slightly but held his weight. He leaped from one platform to another, moving carefully but without fear. As he progressed, a drone flew at him from behind, trying to intercept him. The human didn't even look at it. Instead, he adjusted a crystal with a small push of his hand. The drone collided with the redirected energy and fell to the ground in sparks. He continued walking, casual as ever, leaving the fortress's most complex defenses behind. Elsewhere, the alien strike team tried to intervene again. This time, they sent a unit through an energy tunnel that bypassed most security systems. They expected the human to fall into their trap, to trigger a force field that would immobilize him. But the human had already learned the pattern. He anticipated their move. As the energy tunnel glowed, he ducked into a side passage hidden behind a floating panel. The tunnel's force field activated, but struck empty air. The aliens outside screamed in frustration. Every step they took was countered by his calm, intuitive movements. Deeper into the fortress, the human came across a hallway filled with strange holographic projections. They showed alien soldiers fighting battles from centuries past, scenes of conquest and defeat, projected as if to warn intruders of the fortress's history. The images flickered and shifted, trying to distract him. He walked slowly, studying each projection. Some projected light that could blind, others produced heat that could burn. He carefully timed each step, moving past the traps while learning from them. For every danger, he found a solution, not through brute force, but through careful observation and simple thinking. Suddenly, a massive energy barrier rose ahead. It spanned the entire corridor, glowing blue and humming with deadly power. The human paused, examining the structure. The barrier was designed to be unbreakable, only passable by those with alien genetic codes or advanced technology. He studied the pattern. The energy pulses had a rhythm, a slight pause between cycles. Timing his move, he sprinted forward. As the barrier pulsed at full strength, he ducked through a narrow gap, his body moving with perfect timing. Sparks flew around him, but he emerged unharmed on the other side. The fortress itself seemed to recognize his movements, almost as if it were testing him, pushing him further, challenging his casual confidence. He smiled faintly. Not bad, he whispered, but I'm not afraid. He entered a room filled with alien machinery, each device pulsing with raw energy. The walls were covered with intricate panels, some glowing, others flickering with instability. The human approached the nearest console and touched it. Instantly, a holographic display appeared, showing the fortress's inner workings. He studied it carefully. Every security system, every trap, every hidden path, it was all there, yet instead of being overwhelmed, he felt a sense of clarity. He understood the fortress's logic. Where the aliens relied on rules and strength, he relied on intuition and observation. A sudden alarm rang out. A squad of alien guardians appeared from hidden doors, their weapons raised. The human didn't panic. He looked around and noticed a reflective panel on the wall. Timing his move, He kicked a small lever, redirecting the Guardian's energy beams into the panel. The beams bounced harmlessly into the floor, disabling the squad. Outside, the alien strike team watched in disbelief. "He's using the fortress against itself," one soldier said. "How is this possible?" The team leader's voice was tight with tension. "He's thinking in ways we cannot. Every move we anticipate, he counteracts. He's human." The human continued deeper, moving through corridors filled with alien traps that had stopped the best soldiers in the galaxy. Each challenge was met with calm observation and simple, clever actions. Pressure plates, energy lasers, patrolling drones, shifting floors. He passed them all, as if the fortress itself allowed him to proceed. Finally, he reached a chamber that seemed to be the heart of the fortress. Massive energy conduits stretched across the ceiling, pulsing with a rhythm like a heartbeat. At the center stood a console larger than any he had seen before. Strange glyphs glowed on its surface, radiating raw power. He paused, realizing that this was a control hub, the place the elite strike team had been trying to reach for centuries. Yet he did not feel fear. He approached the console, examining it carefully. Every panel, every lever, every glowing symbol was a puzzle, but he understood it intuitively. Outside, the alien strike team prepared their final intervention. They would not fail again. This human could not be allowed to reach the core. But even as they coordinated their attack, they realized it was too late. The human had already understood the console's operation. He placed his hand on a central lever. The energy conduits above him pulsed, reacting to his presence. The fortress hummed louder, as if awakening fully. A door slid open ahead, revealing another level, deeper, older, and more dangerous than anything he'd seen so far. The alien strike team could only watch helplessly. Their precision, their training, their advanced technology, it was all irrelevant. One human, calm, casual, and fearless, had penetrated deeper than any alien soldier ever could. The human paused briefly before stepping forward. He glanced back once, not in fear, but in awareness of the enemy still outside. Then he moved into the next chamber, the fortress's heartbeat echoing around him. It was a turning point. The human had shown that intuition, courage, and casual confidence could defeat even the most advanced precision and technology in the galaxy. The alien strike team, for the first time, realized that their perfect strategies were not enough, and the human, unarmed, underestimated, and casual, was only getting started. The fortress seemed to breathe around the human, as if it were aware of him in a way it had never been aware of any alien before. Every corridor he passed pulsed with energy, each chamber more intricate than the last. The air was thick with power, humming like a heartbeat, and strange glyphs glowed along the walls. For centuries, no being had reached this far. The elite alien strike teams had never made it past the outer defenses. And yet here he was, calm, casual, moving with a confidence that defied logic. Ahead lay a massive chamber, its ceiling lost in shadow, walls lined with alien technology older than any record in the galaxy. Energy conduits twisted in impossible shapes, casting sharp streaks of light across the room. In the center, a pedestal rose on the floor, pulsing with an eerie golden light. Hovering above it was a sphere that seemed to contain its own miniature galaxy, spinning slowly, as if alive. The human stopped. He had reached the heart of the fortress. The control core. A chill ran down his spine, but not fear, curiosity, wonder, and above all, understanding. The alien strike team, monitoring from their ships outside, noticed a shift in energy patterns. Their screens glowed red with warnings. The leader's voice trembled, though he tried to mask it. Impossible, he's reached the core. Inside, the human approached the sphere. The energy around it was intense, pulsing with a rhythm that resonated deep in his chest. This was no ordinary power source. It was alive in a way he could feel instinctively ancient and aware. He extended a hand toward the sphere. As his fingers neared, it pulsed brighter, reacting to his presence. A sudden voice echoed, not mechanical, not alien, but deep and commanding. "Who dares touch the heart of the fortress?" The human froze for a moment. The voice was like thunder and velvet combined, resonating in his mind as well as in the air. I am human. He replied simply, standing straight, casual, unafraid. "I came to see it. I came to understand." A series of lights flickered, forming patterns he recognized. It wasn't just responding, it was communicating. Memories, warnings, images of past invaders, all flashed in his mind. The fortress had absorbed every attempt, every alien plan, every failure, and it had waited for someone different, someone unpredictable. Outside, the alien strike team panicked. Their leader yelled, "Shut it down! Destroy it! Whatever it is, stop him!" But no weapon they had could reach him. Lasers bounced harmlessly off invisible shields. Energy pulses were absorbed and redirected. The fortress itself had chosen protector, someone it trusted, or at least tolerated, for reasons the aliens could not comprehend. Inside the chamber, the human touched the sphere. Instantly, he saw visions. Planets falling, civilizations rising and collapsing, alien fleets destroyed, ancient battles fought. He saw the fortress's original builders, being so powerful they could bend reality, and the reason the alien strike teams feared it. The fortress was more than a structure. It was a repository of knowledge, a weapon, and a living entity. And now, it was reacting to him. He realized a twist. The fortress wasn't just a challenge, it was alive, and it had never let anyone control it because no one had been worthy. The elite alien teams had failed not because they lacked skill, but because they lacked unpredictability, courage, and humility. And now, a single human, casual, fearless, and clever, was being accepted. The sphere pulsed brighter, and the chamber shook. Panels lifted, revealing hidden mechanisms, doors to areas no alien had ever reached. The human could feel the fortress opening to him, trusting him, or at least acknowledging him. A sudden alarm rang again, but this time it was different. It wasn't defensive, it was a warning. Alien reinforcements were moving in. The strike team had regrouped, sending waves of soldiers, drones, and weapons to intercept him. He didn't run. He didn't panic. He smiled faintly. Where the aliens relied on precision, he relied on unpredictability. Where they relied on weapons, he relied on observation. And now, the fortress itself was his ally. The first wave of drones entered. They fired energy beams, scanning for movement. The human glanced at the floor and noticed faint lines, paths where energy reflected in perfect sequences. Timing his move, he leaped, rolled, and slid between the beams. Sparks flew, but he remained unharmed. An alien squad teleported into the chamber. Their armor gleamed, weapons raised, eyes glowing with determination. "You cannot pass," one shouted, but his words were hollow in the vast chamber. The human assessed them quickly. He grabbed a small lever on the wall, ancient, almost unnoticed, and pulled it. Panels shifted, walls moved, and the floor beneath the aliens collapsed slightly, sending them sliding harmlessly but disoriented. He stepped forward calmly, without haste, while they struggled to recover. Outside, the alien leader was furious. "Stop him. All units. Fire everything." But the fortress itself responded. Energy shields rose, blocking the aliens' attacks. Laser turrets misfired, redirected by the humans' presence. Even the elite strike team, trained for centuries, could not reach him. The fortress had shifted allegiance, at least partially, to this human. Inside, the human reached the next chamber, a room filled with glowing relics, each radiating power beyond imagination. He understood the significance immediately. These were ancient tools, left by civilizations long gone. Most alien soldiers would have been overwhelmed by fear or curiosity, unable to act. But he moved calmly, studying each object. He selected one small device, a sphere no larger than his fist, and held it. Instantly, the fortress hummed louder, and a section of the chamber opened, a path leading deeper. The twist became clear. The human's casual, fearless approach had unlocked what no alien could. The fortress was alive, aware, and it responded not to force or strategy, but to courage, observation, and creativity. The alien strike team tried one final attempt. They teleported directly into the chamber, hoping to ambush him. Energy blasts fired, drones attacked, and alarms roared. But the human didn't even flinch. He moved like water, fluid and calm, using the fortress itself to redirect attacks. A blast that would have disintegrated an alien soldier harmlessly flowed around him, striking a wall and disabling multiple drones at once. The aliens were stunned. Their most advanced technology, their perfect strategies, were failing against one human and a living fortress. The human reached a console, placing the ancient sphere into a slot that perfectly fitted. The chamber trembled, lights pulsing brighter, energy cascading to the walls like a river of power. The fortress responded fully, acknowledging him as a controller, or at least a worthy presence. And then the final twist hit. He realized the fortress held more than weapons and power. It held knowledge, secrets that could change the course of the galaxy. The aliens had tried to seize it, to dominate it, but they had failed because they approached with fear, rules, and precision. The human, casual and fearless, had succeeded because he was unpredictable, creative, and humble. He smiled, understanding the truth. The galaxy's most powerful structure had chosen him. And now, everything could change. Outside, the alien strike team could only watch in disbelief. Their mission was lost, not because of weakness, but because of something they could not predict. One human, calm and casual, had unlocked the impossible. And as the fortress pulsed with new energy, the human prepared for the final step, knowing that the true test and the ultimate revelation was yet to come. The unexpected twist was complete. The human had surpassed the elite alien strike team, gained control of the fortress's core, and revealed that the galaxy's greatest weapon was not power or precision, but the unpredictable courage of a single, ordinary human. The fortress pulsed with energy, alive and aware, responding to human in ways no alien had ever experienced. For centuries, this place had been the ultimate symbol of power, unbreachable and feared across the galaxy. Elite strike teams had tried, failed, and vanished. Entire fleets had been repelled by its defenses. And yet, here stood a single human, calm, casual, and completely in control of the chaos. Outside, the alien strike team hovered in their ships, tense and silent. The leader's jaw was tight, his fingers clutching the console like a lifeline. "This cannot be happening," he muttered. One human is inside our fortress, controlling it." A younger soldier whispered, his voice shaking. "Sir, he's not even armed. How is this possible?" The leader growled, "It shouldn't be possible. And yet it is." Inside, the human walked slowly through the control chamber, his steps casual, almost effortless. The golden sphere he had placed into console radiated light, and the entire fortress hummed as if it were welcoming him. Panels shifted, doors opened, and hidden pathways revealed themselves. The living fortress had accepted him, not as a conqueror, but as an observer, someone it could trust to move carefully and wisely. The alien strike team made one final desperate attempt. Energy blasts fire from the ships outside, synchronized the strike at the fortress's outer hull. Elite soldiers teleported inside, hoping to catch the human in a trap. Drones flew from hidden corridors, their sensors glowing red, weapons locked on their target. The human didn't flinch. He barely even looked. He stepped to the side as a turret fired, and the energy beam struck a reflective panel, bouncing back to disable several drones. He pulled a lever on the console, and a force field activated, protecting him from a squad of teleported soldiers. Another section of the chamber opened, allowing him to move freely while his attackers were blocked. The fortress itself seemed to anticipate every move of the aliens. Where they tried brute force and precision, it responded with agility and strategy. Hallways shifted, platforms moved, and energy flows redirected attacks. The human simply walked through the chaos, calm, observing, and adapting. He reached the final corridor, the last barrier between him and the outer control deck. It was a narrow hallway, lined with energy fields pulsing unpredictably. Sensors blinked rapidly, and lasers crisscrossed the path in deadly patterns. The human paused briefly, studying the rhythm. He noticed a slight irregularity in the energy pulses, a fraction of a second where the beams would not overlap. Timing his steps perfectly, he leapt, rolled, and slid between the lasers, narrowly avoiding certain death. The alien strike team watched helplessly. Every attack, every tactic, every calculation they had made was failing. One by one, their drones fell, their soldiers stumbled, and their weapons misfired. The human was moving faster than they could anticipate, using both his mind and the fortress itself as a weapon. Finally, he reached the outer control deck, a massive room with windows overlooking the stars. From here, the fortress could control fleets, defend planets, and alter energy flows across entire sectors. The alien strike team had always believed that whoever controlled this room controlled the galaxy. And now, one human stood in its center, completely unarmed, and yet in total command. He glanced at the controls, his fingers brushing over buttons and levers. Each touch caused systems to shift subtly, disabling alarms, rerouting energy, and locking doors behind him. The alien leader shouted to the communicator, his voice tight with fury and disbelief. "Stop him. Stop him now. He cannot, he must not." But his words fell flat. Every system they tried to use to stop him failed. Every attack was countered by the fortress itself, or by the humans' quick thinking. It was as if the building, ancient and powerful, had chosen him as its master. The human looked out the window at the alien ships hovering outside, weapons drawn and aimed. He smiled faintly. He didn't feel fear. He didn't feel anger. He only felt the absurdity of the situation. One human, completely casual, had outsmarted the galaxy's elite forces. He pressed a single button on the console. Immediately, the fortress's energy shifted. Shields rose, surrounding it in a glowing barrier that no weapon could penetrate. Laser turrets folded back, doors locked, and the outer hull hardened, making it impervious to attacks. The alien strike team could do nothing. Their perfect strategies, their precision, their weapons, everything was useless against a calm human and a fortress that had chosen him. A sudden vibration ran through the control deck. The golden sphere pulsed, casting long streaks of light across the room. The fortress was alive, aware, and responding to the human's touch. It shifted, opening new corridors and revealing systems that had been dormant for centuries. The humans stepped forward casually, exploring these new paths. Outside, the alien strike team began to retreat. Their leader's voice was quiet, almost broken. We have failed. He controls it. One human. He controls it." The human, unaware of their despair, moved with easy confidence. He understood that brute force and intimidation could not dominate a living fortress. Only understanding, observation, and calm courage could. He activated a few ancient systems, and the fortress hummed louder, responding to him as if it were alive. Energy flows redirected, corridors shifted, and hidden chambers opened. It was clear, this human had changed the fortress forever. Where aliens had failed through fear and rules, he succeeded through casual insight and fearlessness. The alien leader made one final, desperate attempt. He ordered his fleet to fire on the fortress, hoping sheer numbers could overwhelm it. Massive energy beams struck the hull, causing sparks and tremors. But the human barely reacted. With another touch on the console, the fortress absorbed the energy, redirecting it into harmless displays, leaving the human untouched. The strike team soldiers, seeing their efforts fail again and again, began to retreat completely. Their perfect plans were worthless. Their most advanced weapons had been neutralized by one human, and now the fortress itself seemed to be an ally. The human stepped back from the console, looking over the fortress with casual admiration. He had entered casually, moved carefully, and now he stood victorious. Not with weapons, not with armies, but with calmness, observation, and courage. He turned, walking down a corridor that opened automatically for him. The golden sphere pulsed in his hand, the fortress's heartbeat echoing through the walls. Outside, the alien strike team could only watch, humiliated and powerless. The human paused at a window, overlooking the stars. The galaxy stretched endlessly before him, full of conflict, fear, and war. And yet, here he was, one human, casual and fearless, victorious where elite aliens had failed for centuries. The fortress hummed around him, acknowledging the victory. The human smiled faintly. He didn't know if he could control all of its power. He didn't even care. For now, he had proven something far more important. One human, with calm courage and intelligence, could change the course of the impossible. And as he walked further into the heart of the fortress, a faint vibration echoed, a new system awakening, a new path revealing itself. The fortress was alive, the aliens defeated, and the human unstoppable. The galaxy would remember this day, not because of fleets or weapons, not because of strategy or perfection, but because one casual human had walked into the heart of the galaxy's deadliest fortress and emerged victorious, calm, and unchallenged. The casual victory was complete. The aliens had failed. The fortress had chosen. And the human had simply walked through as if it were the most ordinary thing in the universe. The stage was set for the next story, but this chapter ended with a simple truth. Never underestimate a human, especially one who walks casually into the impossible.